Hey, so I sent out a survey and asked what people would most like me to talk about. And one of the requests that I keep getting is for people, someone wants me to teach a class on how I do my meal planning prep. And I haven't quite figured out how to do that without having a camera crew follow me around for a couple days. So this is my next best option. I do have notes that I'm going to be following, so you're going to see me looking down at my computer because I want to make sure I cover everything that will be applicable. So the first thing that I want to show you is some of the supplies that I use. I use these deli containers, freezer jars. Let's see here. I love these muffin cups because you can just set them down on a tray. They stand up by themselves and you don't have to have them in a muffin tin when you are freezing or baking in them. Regular muffin cups work as well, but you do have to keep them in a muffin tin. Let me set those down over here. Dropping things. Freezer bags. I use both gallon and quart size depending what I'm putting up. And then the other thing that I use, sorry, this is big because I just had an order come in. I use both 8.5 by 11 and what is this? A 12 by 10 disposable aluminum pans. You can get all of this stuff on Amazon fairly reasonably. I actually use Subscribe and Save
That's
to
not
get my
something I
tins.
can do.
Yeah. Maybe I should unplug her. The other thing that you'll need is a Sharpie, and I love these dissolvable labels because I don't want to have to use acetone to constantly clean Sharpie off of my stuff, and I don't want to peel labels off. So these, when you wash them, they just dissolve. Best discovery I have made in the last few months. All right, so my first tip is no recipe in our house is ever a single recipe. We always double and triple our recipes. And if you have teenagers, put your extra away before you serve dinner or you won't have any extra. So if I'm making a soup or a chili, I just double or triple the ingredients, and then I can put them away in jars or deli containers, they call these, depending on how much I plan to serve. This is usually like lunch for 2 people. This is more like my family dinner size. I could also use a couple of these if I'm out of the other containers because I kind of hoard these things. I have a lot of them. And then if I'm making a casserole style dish, I'll use one of my regular glass kitchen containers and then use one of these things to make 2 or 3 more that I can pop in the freezer. If you do this every day for a month, you can have 2 to 3 months of full dinner meals already in your freezer. The other tip that I like to do is I like to cook things ahead, like cook ingredients ahead. So if I buy ground beef in bulk, then I cook it right away and I freeze it in my quart freezer bags in 1 pound portions. And then it's really easy to pull it out for tacos, chili, add it to soup, and it doesn't take a long time to thaw because it's already pre-cooked and crumbles and thaws out really fast while you're cooking it into its sauce. I do the same thing with chicken. Pre-cooked chicken is not great on its own, but if you add it to something saucy, a soup or enchiladas, cheese sauce with veggies, it's great and it's time saving. Another along that same line is to pre-prep things so they save time later. When I buy beef, I pre-shape my hamburger patties instead of freezing the whole package because it takes a long time for a pound, 2, 3, 4 pounds of ground beef frozen to thaw. But a pre-shaped hamburger patty that's only, I think I do 8-ounce patties, it's goes straight from the freezer to the grill, and there's no thaw time. And it's cheaper and healthier than buying your pre-shaped patties at the store. And one of the great benefits of that is I can invite anybody over to dinner anytime and know I've got burgers in the freezer. All I have to do is pull them out, put them on the grill, pull out my bag of hamburger buns that I always keep in the freezer, and add a vegetable, and I have an instant meal for a quick, oh, I just saw someone at church and invited them over for dinner. Another pre-prep, you can take chicken thighs or breasts, put them into one of these trays, add a vegetable and a cooking flavor sauce, and then just put it away like that. Your tray is ready to pull straight out of the freezer and put straight in the oven. Preheating in the oven. Don't thaw it on the counter. When you turn your oven on for the preheat cycle, just put it straight in. It thaws while it's preheating, and you don't have bacteria growing in it while it's sitting on the counter. I showed you, here I put them. I showed you my muffin cups. This is the best thing ever. It's great to have fresh muffins, but if you are used to freezing your muffins, you will take them out of the freezer and discover that after you've thawed them out, they're kind of dry and icky. And I hated eating muffins out of the freezer. And then I thought, why am I spending all this time, like seriously all day long, cooking tray after tray after tray of muffins when I could just freeze the batter? And then I just pull out however much I need and cook those muffins, same thing, straight into the oven on the preheat cycle, about 30 minutes, and I have fresh, hot, not dried out and yucky muffins for breakfast. And that's a lifesaver. Breakfasts for me are as bad as dinners because the second my kids are awake, they want something to eat. and I don't like feeding them cereal all the time, and my muffins are whole wheat, whole grain, packed full of superfoods. I don't mind if they eat them every day because they're healthy. All right, let me scroll through my notes and make sure I'm telling you everything. Oh, another great batter to freeze is cookies. You mix up the batter, use a cookie scoop, portion it out on your cookie tray, freeze it. And once it's done, you just take them all out, put them in a gallon Ziploc, and you can pull out as many cookies as you need whenever you need them and bake them off. It's great for portion control, and it's great for, I want fresh cookies because a friend just dropped by. Another thing you can freeze the same way as your muffins is brownie batter. This is how I got the reputation as being the best house to host my ladies' meetings at, because I can have fresh brownies at the drop of a hat. Pre-cook your major ingredients, like broth. This is so easy and so cheap to make yourself. When I'm cooking, I save all my scraps, the ends you cut off of carrots, your peelings off of vegetables, anything that you would normally just throw away from your veggies. I save it all, put it in a gallon Ziploc bag. I save all my chicken bones, beef bones, put them in a bag as well. And then when my bags are full, they all go in a huge pot and covered with water, bring it to a boil, then strain it and just fill your freezer jars. Make sure you get freezer jars. They'll say on them they're freezer jars. They can't have the slope that some of your mason jars have, or they'll explode in your freezer. But these straight-sided freezer jars, and then I can just pull out broth whenever I need it. My husband was shocked when he went to buy broth at the store and realized that what I'm making for virtually free was around $6. And the flavor of homemade broth, you just can't beat it. My friends find out that I do that, and they're like, oh, that's why your soup is so much better, even when I follow your recipe. Another thing that I pre-cook ahead, lately I've been having, whenever my husband uses the smoker, I've been having him cook my onions for me. So I dice all the onions up and put them in a tray. Put just like a tablespoon or two of butter on top, or, this is really yummy, lay fresh bacon on top, and just put it in the smoker as long as whatever you're smoking is in there. And then you save so much time having to saute your onions for every dish that you make. I just, when they're done, I package them up into containers for about how much I'm going to use. I put them in my freezer. Whenever I need a recipe that calls for sauteed onions, I pull them out, and they add a yummy flavor to your dish. They're just a little bit smoky, bacony flavor to your dish. And everything you make calls for sauteed onions, right? Cook one big thing that you can make into smaller things. We like to do this with brisket. A whole brisket is huge. Like, even with a big family, you can't eat the whole thing in one sitting. So my husband is great at watching the local meat sales, and he'll find a brisket at half to a third the normal price, and he'll buy 2 of them, put one of them away in the freezer, and then smoke the other. And it's great, but leaves me with a ton of meat that I have to do something with. And you can, no matter how much you love brisket, you can only eat reheated brisket so many times in a row. So, and the same thing applies to turkeys or chicken. You can cook them in bulk, make a variety of recipes. So I keep a idea book full of recipes that we love as a family, ones I found online or in a cookbook that I want to try, that I think is something we'd enjoy. And it's best if I use recipes that call for similar ingredients, so the prep work and grocery shopping is easier. So if my husband's cooking brisket, I open my idea book to the section on beef, and I pick 2 or 3 recipes out of here that call for similar ingredients. Like, they all use carrots or they all use mushrooms. Like, then I can get more bang for my buck and less work with the prep work and everything as well. And I'll cook several dishes that call for the same ingredients, put them all away in one of my containers in the freezer, and I have meals just ready to pop out of the oven at any time. There's a few of those meals that, like, every time we cook brisket, I have to make shepherd's pie. It's my husband's favorite, or my kids' favorite too. It's our family's favorite meal. But it doesn't matter how yummy and how favorite it is. I don't want a whole freezer full of shepherd's pie, so I'll make chili, I'll make beef pot pie. That's why I keep my idea book, because I'll have 20 or 30 ideas of things I can use with leftover beef in there. Let me check my notes. Yeah, so cooking multiple meals on one day, when my husband cooks the brisket, the next day is my cooking day. It's more time that day, but it's less time every other day that I get to just, oh, what's for dinner? It's 4 o'clock. Pull something out of the freezer, put it in the oven. Dinner's ready by 5. And I did almost no work that night. Another thing that is great to do, especially if you're doing bulk cooking, is to cook with a friend. I especially love it when I have friends who have a different food culture than mine. Recently I got together with a friend that has a Indian background. We spent the whole day cooking. I made shepherd's pie, and I think I made 6 or 7 shepherd's pie, and she made a massive pot of butter chicken. So we each made, like, our signature dish. We know how to make this, can do it without thinking. This is the best thing we make. And then we split them up, and we each get half. And so we get to enjoy amazing butter chicken and she gets to enjoy my shepherd's pie. And we also got to enjoy a whole day of just chatting and talking and cooking together and just developing our friendship even more. And also cook with your family. So my 5-year-old, who just turned 6, recently got interested in cooking things that were kind of new and unusual for him, things that he wouldn't even eat before. He just kind of got interested in, how do you make those from scratch, Mom? And that was the big fascinating thing for him, was that things that honestly normally I buy in a can, like cooked beans, because it just takes forever to cook my beans in advance. He wanted to know how to make them from scratch. And so we got dried beans. I found a recipe. He made his first batch of beans in the crock pot. We all thought they were way better than the ones from the can. And so we made a big batch. All my family, my kids, everybody knows we don't make a single recipe in my house. So every time they want to cook, it involves math because you have to multiply by 2 or 3. And then I used my containers to freeze the rest so I could just pull it out and serve. I've already got a side. I just have to make rice for anytime I want to pull out one of my trays of enchiladas. And that success urged him on to try new things. So I found that the crock pot is great for little ones because they have a short attention span and it's harder for them to burn themselves. But then, they can put all their ingredients in and then come back a few hours later and, wow, look what I made. Yeah. And he's just so proud of himself whenever he gets to serve something that he made. And he's eating beans and rice, which honestly, his sister loves beans and rice, but he would not touch them before. Like, put them on his plate and he would pick at them, not want to eat them. I don't like them. And he's eating them now and loving it because he got to make it. So some of the benefits of cooking this way is when you've just had a crazy busy day. Like, I know even before I had kids, when I was working outside the home, I dreaded what am I going to serve for dinner? Or I've just lost track of time because it's been one of those kind of days. And all of a sudden it's like, oh my goodness, my family wants to eat and I don't have time to spend all this time preparing a meal because they want to eat like now. And I could just pull something out of the freezer and have dinner ready really quickly. I might spend, like I said, more time on one day cooking, but all the other days I get to spend more time with my family and less time in the kitchen. Another benefit, you can always invite somebody over and know you have something to serve them. You don't have to hesitate to, can I invite this new family from church over after church because I don't know if I have anything in the freezer to cook or in my refrigerator to cook, because I always have something in my freezer I can pull it out and thaw. And if somebody's sick, somebody just had a baby, they're going through a hard time, you get that care calendar and I can sign up because I know I've got something I can take to them. I can just take one of the casseroles or one of the containers of soup or whatever to them whenever. So it allows me to be a blessing to my family and to others as well, because I know there's always something that I have on hand to feed them and something that I have on hand to share. So hopefully that is helpful to you. I'll also probably follow up with a blog post with a lot of this information in it as well if you want to go back and check on it. But hopefully that gives you some ideas you can use and implement and start cooking for your family.